Okay. So hello to everyone. We are very thrilled, actually excited to start this webinars today together with you and with all other stakeholders. I'm Urška Starc-Pečeni. I'm from Arctur. Today, together with me will be Mateusz Strauss, who is leading at Arctur the Heritage Plus program, all projects related to this topic. And today we have we would say the honor, because it's the first project of this kind for us at Arctur. It's together with UNIDO, dedicated. So just to give you the background, the idea is to support the transition of the knowledge that we gained in Slovenia through Tourism 4.0 program and the projects involved in them, and transfer this knowledge to Montenegro. So the Slovenia country is founding this project to, support all these kind of exchanges between the countries, and UNIDO is managing that. So very shortly, the object is, as I said, that we will dedicate the effort and time to scanning of 2 locations, which already took place last week, and then we will be having this series of webinars, and we already had one event, and we have then also a final event where all the stakeholders will join again in May, June, depending on how the project will be developing, in which then all the results will be presented. But whatever questions or you have on the way through the projects, please really feel free to contact us and to share with us all your thoughts. And because the idea is here really to build a community around this kind of topic and give you the basis that in Montenegro then you can have this kind of project also in the future. Here is the list of the webinars that we will have. One of it will be together with in cooperation with local partners, but we'll give you more information like in the coming week. So next week is another one with 3D digital capture and data processing, so more technical one. Today is the introduction, really to give you the picture of what we have been doing so far, what were the results, and then more and more we will go into detail with the webinars. And at the end is the hands-on workshop, so on site, as I said, so you can then join really together with experts, get more experiences also in a practical way. Mateusz, maybe do you want to say some words before I give you?
Yeah, just hello from my side as well. Thank you, Urška, for the introduction. Yeah, like Urška said, today is the first workshop, and it's more to give you a context and to give you basically a short presentation of what we did in Slovenia that could be transferred to Montenegro, maybe done even in a better way in Montenegro. And it's really like to give you a context to understand what are all the steps. And in the next workshops, we will be focusing on just parts of that whole story that we are about to present today.
Okay, perfect. So let's jump in, I would say. Maybe just for the beginning, very, very shortly about Arctur. We are a high-tech company. We have a private-owned supercomputer center. So we deal a lot with data of different kinds, in different areas, health, industry, and so on. And around 7 years ago, we were like thinking, where can we bring this knowledge to what other sectors? And this is how we bumped to tourism. And the idea behind it is really to bring the technologies from Industry 4.0, so all you can see here, into tourism. But how? It is not about technology. Whatever we do, it's always this central idea is to put in the centers the quality of life of local community. So not the tourist is the king, the local community. And whatever we developed, we respect this. So how to preserve or foster the quality of life of local community by developing tourism, sustainable tourism, which permits it. And technology is always just, we are doing different things, a lot of data. I said we have developed tools such as this one, Tourism Impact Model, with more than 300 indicators to really measure the impact of tourism, to really understand in smallest local locations, what is the impact? We are connecting this to UN Sustainable Development Goals. We're really trying to follow all the standards and all the ideas that help develop sustainable tourism, and then bringing this into real light on the field, putting sensors, try to measure also outdoor the flows of tourism. But as we know, and today we are together here, is tourism is a lot about culture. So we connect all this also to cultural heritage. The idea is that we want to bring remote areas to make it interesting, and then in what a way, so that we combine technologies with these remote areas and try to make new experiences out of it. So the idea is to really try to have this real world and use technology as a mean just to enrich it and make new experiences out of it. Very shortly, I think we have one more slide, is that, as I said, again, it's about the quality of life of local community. So not the tourists, the local community is in the center. And at Arctur, we are doing a lot of so-called R&D projects. So we have really a variety of, from measuring the impact of tourism till the projects as this one today is where the cultural heritage and the digitalization center. Just to give you this idea that what we are trying to do is to bring this spirit into tourism. We are usually, you have, in the car industry, it's known that they are all focused on what is in the future, what is coming. In tourism, this is not the case. Usually have, it's more conservative. Everyone is focused more on like how to develop a new hotel, how to, make a new location, but not really how to use these technologies. And this is what we are trying to do, make all these complex, maybe somehow also, difficult to understand things at the beginning, understandable, easy to use, and accessible to everyone in the ecosystem, and they make great projects out of it. And now I would like to give the word to Mateusz to show what we have been doing around Slovenia. And I have to say, we are really proud. And at the beginning, it was difficult, but step by step, we will show you that great things can come out of it. So thank you. And Mateusz, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Urška. So for us, it was always a combination of what Urška said, R&D projects, so research and development projects, combination of practical on-site activities, commercial projects, but also a lot of education. So throughout those 7 years, we've been merging these three. And when I say education, I mean giving lectures, giving presentations, organizing workshops, because we always felt that this is an important way how to develop this whole sector. So we started talking about digitally enriched experiences. So tourist experiences of cultural heritage that are digitally enriched. So they remain visits to the site. We still want people to travel, but we believe that with digital technologies, we can make this travel more engaging, more interesting, basically better, and also more sustainable. So in 2019, we managed to convince, or let's say motivate, the the Slovenian Ministry of Technology and Economy to start this initiative and to support local communities across Slovenia to develop such projects. So the idea was each of those participating locations needs to create some 3D models. And then based on those 3D models, they need to develop a new tourist product. And this new tourist product is hybrid. It is partially its physical experience, but it also has a digital element to it. And all of those things were concentrated in a very short period, a bit more than 1 year. And across Slovenia, but exactly 31 destinations, 31 products were created at those destinations. So we started with this map. This is a map of registered immovable cultural heritage in Slovenia. I believe you have a very similar one made for Montenegro. And each of those dots is an immovable cultural heritage registered that in some cases, it's not visible at all to the wider publics. It's a monument. It's an archaeological site. In some cases, it's a ruin, but of course, in some cases, it's a very nice castle, a very nice fortress, and so on. So, but for us, each of those dots is a story that can be told. And we believe that this story can be told in a much more interesting and engaging way with digital technologies, with virtual reality, augmented reality, holograms, touch screens, all these different technologies that give additional layer of audio-visual content that is basically something to engage the tourists more. And although this is a technological project, we don't understand it as only technological project. For us, all these projects are a combination of technology, a lot of storytelling, working with the experts on cultural heritage, and of course, planning everything in accordance to make it a long-term sustainable. And when I say sustainable, I mean both financially sustainable, but also environmentally sustainable. To do this, we employ, like I said earlier, we employ storytelling. Storytelling is something that is with us as humankind from the very, very beginnings. When we were telling stories, the humans were telling stories to other humans. But it was usually using words, so using sound, telling stories, really telling stories. And then it was about writing stories. With digital technologies, we entered into this new phase when we can use images, sounds, videos, virtual experiences to tell stories again. And this is what we call digital storytelling. And it's comprised of different media, different ways of telling these stories. Here are just some of the examples. Of course, not all of them. There are many more. And there are also many combinations when the two of them or three of them are combined. Like I said, we always stress that it's important to share that knowledge, and we also published some booklets about it. So now I want to show you a video, and hopefully I can also share with you the audio of it. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So to give you some impression what we did. So this was just a short glimpse of what we did. If the video or the audio was bad due to the transfer, we can also share with you later the YouTube, or on YouTube you can find lots of those videos, also videos of each of the separate location. So what you saw are our projects. As I said, across Slovenia, 31 projects were done. We didn't do all of 31, but the ones that you have seen in the video were done by us. And for those, we received several awards, and especially what is more important is that our clients received those awards for the tourist projects that they developed. And we believe that it's not just about the awards, of course, it's that the fact that such projects somehow manage to merge different spheres, manage to merge cultural heritage, tourism, and technology, and also involve very different stakeholders and bridge these divides that exist out there. The 3D models that have been created in that process are available online at the website www.didk.si. And again, this link we can share with you, and you can explore the 3D models that were done and are now basically open to reuse for any other activities. And we receive requests from people that want to download those 3D models to use them for their own purposes. So I'll skip now some parts. Let's talk about what we do. Sorry. Now you're seeing something repetition. Let's talk about what we did and how to do this. So the context: a European Union, you're on a good way to join European Union, wants to digitize cultural heritage, because in Europe, I think this awareness that we need to digitize cultural heritage is increasing. And in a communication that European Union prepared, they set some goals for each of the countries. So here, of course, you don't see the goals for Montenegro, but the goals are set for every European country. And here we are talking about the goals for 3D scanning. So not 2D scanning, but 3D scanning. And these goals are rather high. They're ambitious goals. So we really need to scale this process. The technologies to do this are out there. The teams are out there, but to reach those goals, we need to really organize ourselves correctly, and we need to support many more teams that can reach those goals. So going onwards, how does actually a 3D model start? What is the process? And now this will be just a short presentation of how a 3D model is made, because in the next workshops, we will share with you the actual more deep instructions also by our technical team. So, but in very short, for us, we use the technology of photogrammetry in creating 3D models. Photogrammetry means that we take a lot of images of a certain object that we want to capture. We take those images in a systematic way, capturing the whole of the object from various sides. So here you only now see the 360-degree, but of course it is a sphere of photos that is taken of one object. All these objects, and here we are talking about thousands, if not tens of thousands, all those photos are gathered together, are organized, and then put into one unified system. Here we use a specialist software, and out there are several softwares that exist for this. And in the next workshops, we will be talking about what the options for those softwares are, and also which one we as Arctur use. all the photos that we took need to be cleaned, needs to be edited to remove the shades and to remove the overlit areas. So to make them in a way uniform, like they were lit with a uniform light. So this is a long process to clean those photos, to edit them. But this also ensures then that the 3D model is of high quality at the end. These photos were, like I said, they were taken in a systematic way, meaning that there was a big overlap between them. Around 80% is actually an overlap between photos. And if you imagine, if you're putting one on top of another, those photos, you can identify the common points that appear in all images, or let's say in 2 images, and then you add the 3rd image, you get a better, again, more common points. And this is how these 3D, these points, the joint points, are not only in 2 dimensions, but in 3 dimensions, because we've gathered the images that we're taking from various sides, not only from one perspective. And this is the main logic is how to get to what we call a point cloud. So these dots were are in space. They're in 3-dimensional, and here we only see 10 of them, but actually we're talking of many more. So we are connecting those dots, many of those dots, and establishing, like I said, a point cloud. A point cloud is a type of a visual representation of an object in space in 3 dimensions, and it is also a result of laser scanning. And laser scanning is a different process that here reaches a similar step. So if you imagine, if you go on site with a laser scanner, you will immediately get this point cloud without those previous steps. But these are just points in air, points in space. We need to connect them. We need to connect them in triangles. So if you imagine, if you connect 2 dots, you get a line. If you connect 3 dots, you get a triangle. If you add another dot, you get 2 triangles, another dot again. And this is how basically you build something that we call a mesh. So here is an example of a point cloud with 23 million points, or another example of a point cloud. You see the camera is moving through the point cloud, and you can see the dots in air. And those houses here, the small houses, they're already processed 3D models. But what you see around the forest is a point cloud. So like I said, we are connecting these dots and we are creating a mesh. This mesh is comprised of triangles, and these triangles, of course, the idea is, and this is what we will talk in the next workshops, is how to make this mesh as clean as possible. So in a way, we want the least number of triangles to simplify the object, but still enough of those polygons to make it realistic. So not to oversimplify, because of course this small church can be made with just a few triangles, but it won't look realistic. It will look like a cartoon. So this mesh in the next step, this mesh here that I showed is basically just is one color. It's in one color. To make it look realistic, we need to make an envelope of the photos that we took earlier in the photogrammetry phase, and put those images as an envelope on top of the 3D model. Here you have a very simple visualization, but of course this is again a complex process to combine this texture. So we call this texture that is wrapped around a 3D model. So here, just some examples. Here on the left, you have the mesh. It's in one color, the mesh. You see, it's very detailed. It looks very nice to scan, but it doesn't look realistic, of course, because the colors, the textures are missing. So here on top, then you see an actual 3D model of the mesh together with the textures, and it looks very realistic. And of course, the more precise we were, the more photos we took, the better we cleaned them, and the better we processed the photos, the better the result. What you see here, then here on your right, is something that we do afterwards in a separate phase where we try to reconstruct the whole object, the whole building, before it was demolished in that case, for example. So this is something that we call an attempt of reconstruction, where we try to imagine that space in a different time than now. So 3D models, like I said, diverse. So here you see some examples, the process, how we move from face to face, and everything that you see here basically is a 3D model, a combination then with animation, and with different lighting, it can really create a very realistic experience of certain objects. Like I said, in some cases we do those 3D reconstructions. For example, here you see, is the ruin of a castle, and then with on top built the attempt of reconstruction in those different visualizations. So these are very accurate replications of certain objects, but they are not a 3D. They are not a tourist product. With a 3D model, you cannot say that you have a tourist product. You might have a resource, or you might have some material to do something else, but this is not a tourist product. So we want to, of course, create a tourist product at the end. And I want to basically show you some examples of what we did, some case studies of those tourist products, and with that cases, I also want to answer to some of the most common stereotypes, let's say, or most common misconceptions of what we are doing. So often we hear that digital is a replacement for physical experience, that, if you do a virtual reality, that no one will then come to the site in person. And I think this is just not true. Like the data is not telling this, and also the logic does not tell us this. The history does not tell us this. If you think that when the first websites were built, there were also some comments that people will not visit a certain site if they see the photos on the website. They were afraid that if you publish the photos online, that nobody will want to see the physical site. But again, this is really not true. The more photos you show, the higher the interest for the actual visit there is. And it's similar with the physical, with the digital experiences. So an example that we have here is the example of Posavia. Posavia is a region in southeast Slovenia, close to the Croatian border, in the direction of Zagreb. And this region wanted to be known for castles. So they want to really stress the castles in that region, and also to market themselves as a region of castle. And in the project, we worked with 7 municipalities. In each of the municipalities, there is one castle, a remarkable castle. 5 of those castles are renovated, they're accessible, and 2 castles are just ruins. So there is no stuff there, no buildings there. It's just it's ruins. So with 7 castles and 7 municipalities, the dilemma was, where do we present this? And we decided to go with this experience into the place where there's the highest number of tourists. So we went to a spa resort, to Terme. The Čatež Spa Resort is the largest touristic accommodation in the region. It has lots of families that go there. You know, there's indoor, outdoor pools, different water experiences for kids. And we wanted to go there. And the whole idea was how to motivate people, families, to visit some of the castles while being there in the spa. You know, because if you are in such a spa resort, of course you spend a lot of time there, but you also want to make some trips, some visits to something that is nearby. And of course there were several brochures where they presented what is available, but in a physical, like, printed brochure, this is really not attractive to children. You cannot convince a child that what you see in a brochure is super nice. So we thought of something else. So we established a small room. We converted one room that used to be tourist information center. We converted it into a small interpretation center. So inside we have virtual reality glasses, we have holograms, we have screens, and everything is free of charge. So there's no entrance fee. You can enter, you can enjoy, leave whenever you want. Of course, there's some people that help you there and that also take care of the whole thing. But it's, you come in, you leave out whenever you want. And imagine you enter from this main avenue in the spa resort. You enter inside. There's this, everything is dark. The dark walls, the dark ceiling. There's this sound, the sound of medieval sound. The music is there. So it's like really like entering into a different world, like a castle cellar. Inside, there, like I said, there are virtual reality glasses, holograms, screens, but you can basically enjoy. So in virtual reality, using virtual reality glasses, you can you see a 360-degree video of a family visiting those castles. So you feel like you're part of one family that is visiting those castles. And for each of the castles, there's very short presentation, not enough to really experience it, just to get a sense. You know, we don't show all the spaces. We only show some of the very nice spots that are there, showing really the nicest places, but not the whole experiences. In the holograms that are there inside, you see the castles rotating. So for each of the castles, there is some information also written about different architectural characteristics. And we present basically those castles there. The user can choose whichever castle they want to see, and this castle will pop up in a hologram there. We also developed an app. So in that space, they promote the app that you start in the room. So you first use it in the room, but then to finish this quest, this trail, you need to visit the castles. At every castle, there are some tasks that you need to do. And once you solve one castle, you get a small prize at the castle. It could be a free coffee in a castle. It could be a croissant. It could be a small sticker. So something small that you get at every castle. And of course, there are very few who actually go to all 7 castles. It's impossible to do the 7 castles in 1 week trip, let's say. I mean, it's possible, but people usually don't do it. But it's not the idea that you do all 7 of them. The idea is that you get familiar that these exist, and maybe next time that you come, you visit another one. So that this is basically an ecosystem that is adding up one on top of another. So this is now in place for actually almost 4 years already. It's still running. It's still full in the summer, full of children in the summer when there's the high season there. And we see the results. I mean, the whole region is known for the castles, and the castles are becoming a very important tourist product that is there alongside the spa resort. And of course, this costs quite a lot. I mean, this is not the equipment is expensive. The scanning of 7 castles, it's a long process. To run this whole space costs. And then we also often hear, hardware is so expensive, we don't want to do it. We don't want to invest so much money in hardware because who will then manage it? So lots of excuses and lots of reasons why not to use those technologies. So to give you another example of a project where we decided that the hardware will cost very little. And when I say very little, I mean less than €5 per person. And this is the example of it. I'll show you now the video and then I explain it. The whole idea was to enable anyone to see a hologram of a site. And a hologram, you know, it sounds magnificent, huge hologram of ABBA playing or Tupac on a stage or something like this. But you can do a hologram by yourself with your phone. So we created a small package. In this package, you get postcards. Postcards are a cliche thing for a tourist site. Every tourist site has a postcard, but we added something else on top. So besides the postcards, on the other side, you also have a QR code. Once you scan the QR code, you get to a landing page, a website. So here you have 3 examples of the landing pages where we basically tell about the thing on the postcard. It's a very simple presentation in that case. But there you see photos, some short texts, videos, but there is also a special video. And once you play this video and then put on top this small plastic pyramid, and this small plastic pyramids you received in this package, you received it inside. It's foldable and it costs €2 to buy. Once you put this small foldable plastic pyramid on top of it and play the video, you see a hologram inside. So this, what you see here, is not it's just a regular capture, no editing. But you see like the thing is inside. Very small, of course, because your phone is small and the pyramid is small. But in a way, it is surprising because you don't expect this. It's very, like I said, very simple, but it works for a small time. And in that case, they developed this as a promotion of sites that are a bit away. And you're using this same principle now with many different sites in Europe along the Danube River to build on this idea of postcards, and then we call it holographic postcards. So this is a totally other extreme example, very simple, low technology compared to what we saw previously. Then another thing that we often hear is that people don't like virtual reality because it makes them feel sick. And I think this is very unfair to the technology because it might, in some cases, it really makes you feel sick, but it depends also how it's done, what hardware have you been using. It also depends on some person, because some people are really easier to feel sick. And I'll show you an example of what we did, how to do it. So we worked with a destination that is a mining region. So there is still a coal mine, and there are also lakes. There are 3 lakes that are artificial lakes. These lakes have been created because of the excavation of the ore, of the coal, and the surface started to submerge, and this is how the lakes appeared there. But people actually don't. When people visit this site, they don't know that they're artificial lakes because it looks very natural. Nowadays, it looks very natural. And again, what they don't know is that in that process of formation of those lakes, several villages were demolished. People were moved out of those villages, and the all buildings were demolished. And we wanted to tell this story, the story of those villages that disappeared. And of course, the dilemma was how to make it a tourist story. And we believe that tourist stories are not only the happy stories, sometimes it's also the sad stories. In that case, it was a very bitter story, because people had to leave their homes because of their job, because this was miners who lived there, who lived in those houses but worked underground, and they lost their homes in that process. So we created a tourist product. It's a full day experience that you start in the mine, you visit the mine, the tourist mine, but you don't go the regular way. You don't listen to the stories of how good the mining was and how much they excavated and about the technical facts. You only listen about the people who lived there, who were dedicated to those areas, to the mine. And this is where you also get familiar with how their work changed the surface and created those lakes and how their villages disappeared. But then you go up on the surface, you go to those lakes, you enter a small boat there, and the boat takes you to the middle of the lake, and there they give you virtual reality glasses. So you are on the boat with virtual reality glasses, and then you virtually you go down into the lake. You go to one of those villages that we have reconstructed. So we talked with the people that used to live there. We looked at their archival photos, and we created that village. And this is also how everything ends. You find inside there, you find the hidden button that was missing on the shirt of your guide. And this is how basically the whole story that started at the beginning with the tourist guide of the mine, this ends here. Of course, this is not the end right here. You still go to the shore, to the beach. There you have a nice view of the whole lake, a nice dinner, and everything is basically you're returned from this emotional journey. You're returned back to reality, knowing a bit more about the location and understanding how this location was really changed because of the mining. So here we did the virtual reality glasses with a 3D model of a site that does not exist anymore, but we reconstructed it using archival content. And then another thing that we often hear is that digitalization is making everything banal, everything not worth. So to give you an example of our partners, what we did together in a partnership with the Spanish. So they are scanning archaeological artifacts, and then they're 3D printing them, and then they are creating 3D puzzles. of them. And I think it's a good example. Here below you also see an animated Iberian. So this is Iberians as a tribe. So they're in a way making available something that would usually be behind a glass. It would be behind a glass with a sign "Do not touch." They're making it able to touch. So I think it's a good example how to bring cultural heritage to kids for them to feel and to experience those objects. Also, we often hear that heritage is not fun, and we don't agree. An example is, I'll show you a different one. This example we did in Slovenia, where they have a old hairdressing saloon, and it's basically looks like 100-year-old, 100 years old hairdressing saloon. And usually it's the kids that go there. So the whole schools are taking there, and they tell them how the haircuts used to be done, but also what were the haircuts through time. And for children, I think it's very important that they understand how the haircut fashion has been changing, because this is also how you understand that, of course, that not people didn't look like they do today in the past, and a lot was because of the different haircuts. So we created something that we call AR mirror. So instead of a regular mirror with the haircuts, there's a screen with a camera on top, and it captures you, and you can choose your haircut. You can be Marilyn Monroe, and you can also read them about those haircuts. Or boys can be girls and girls can be boys, and it's a lot of fun basically that they're playing there, trying different haircuts, and this is how they better understand how these haircuts were done in the past. They can download the photo and they can use the photo for whatever they want. They have it on their phone. I'll skip this case and show you just some more examples. In Izola, which is a town on the coast of Slovenia, we were given a task to tell the story of this town. And the story of this town is actually, if you're there, it's hard to understand, because this is a story of a town that throughout most of its history, it was an island. The name already tells you, Isola in Italian means an island. And it was an island for thousands of years. And only in the last 150 years, it is connected to the mainland. And we wanted to tell this story, the history of this town. So this is why we created a model of today's Isola. This is a model in one color only. But then on top of it, we have projectors that project videos on top. And these videos, we have 9 videos for each of the time periods that we decided for. For each of the time periods, we have a different video. And this is all how we are showing basically what was going on throughout the time. There's a narration in the back. There's music that we composed for each of the chapters, separate music for each of the chapters. And once you're there in this dark room, and this is the only very light thing in front of you, it looks very, very powerful. So basically what you're saying is a 3D animation. Projected in 2D, of course, but it's everything is animated. And this is also how you see these different phases throughout the time. I'll skip this case and show you another one, and then maybe we have a time for some questions. So the last case is above Tolmin. Tolmin is a town in western Slovenia, and there is a ruin of a castle. You'd say nothing special, I mean, just the ruin of a castle. But we were able to create a reconstruction of that castle from the 17th century. So everything that you see is virtually reconstructed. Working with historians, we were able to do these reconstructions. And even more, we created a virtual experience. So this is an interactive virtual experience where you are walking through the rooms, you are solving the challenges, and you are at the end, of course, also it's a game. It's a virtual reality game that we put in that castle, and all of the quests, all of the challenges are related with the history of the castle, with different happenings in different time periods that there are. So basically, we recreated everything in virtually, in 3D, and this is another type of example. With that, I have more examples, but I'll skip them because we are run out of time. To us, this first presentation is introduction. It is to show you what's possible, something that we did. We could speak more and more and more, but in the next sessions that we will have, we want to also go through you more technically how we did some of them, what was done well, what were the reasons for some of them or for some decisions. And this is what follows in the next 4 sessions. Urška, you want to join back in? I don't know, yeah. Do we have actually time for questions?
Yeah, sure we do. Yep.
Okay. Any comments, any questions, any dilemmas? And also, if you don't agree with something, let me know.
Like at school, you know, they want us to call people, but we won't. It just, don't worry. It's just like, look, this is, as Matteo said, this is the first, the introduction. The idea is to prepare you more webinars, but we can give you a lot of examples, as you can see. So he was skipping because we have so many things, but still, if you have interest in something, just we will send you a follow-up of this webinar with the link and everything. Feel free, really, if you give us questions so we can prepare for next week and give you, you know, topics that you are interested of. Otherwise, like, we will try to, based on the many webinars we have been doing, present you what people usually was interested in. But as I said, you have specific, you have your own country, you have your own stage of development. So help us to understand. But I see Sanya has a question.
Hello to everyone. Thank you for the nice presentation. Apologize, I didn't manage to follow it from the beginning. I had some technical issues, but okay. I have one question. Very nice product and everything, basically in virtual reality and addressing some cultural and historical sites. Do you have any concrete impact, you know, any increase of tourists or any feedback? So, for example, you said that you have for the castles some games. Is this game like an award to get free tickets to visit this place? And does it actually the booming tourist offer, or how you are managing this?
Yeah. So one effect, one consequence is the direct increase of visits. So this is something, for example, with the case of castles, you see, we can see this, that is happening there. We track the results from the app, but also otherwise we see the increase, and when people are coming to the museum, they say, oh, we saw about you in the spa and so on. So, because of course, not everyone is using the app. We need to understand this, that the app is an addition to everything. And the second direct influence is from a marketing point of view. So this is how these sites distinguish themselves from the others. You know, how to, let's say, how to reach that. They talk about your destination in the main TV show in the evening at 7 o'clock with such projects, you know, because otherwise for this smaller destination in Slovenia, it's impossible to be on the big news because if you didn't do something special. So it's about the marketing, it's about the branding, how to position yourself. And in many cases, so it's about promotion, marketing, but in many cases, it's just about better experience for the visitors. It's not about promotion, but how to ensure that the people that come there enjoy your site more. To give you, so to maybe comment on the, for example, I've shown this with the lakes and the sunken villages, and then the virtual reality. This product is not, it's not a mass product. Actually, very little people go there. It is, you have to understand it as a, like with the fashion show. You know, what you see at a fashion show in Paris is not the same thing that you can buy in a shop, because you see there the direction, you see the concepts, and then they offer you something more affordable, something smaller. So, and this is how the whole destination wanted to present themselves, not only as a town related to the Tito history, because this town was built, it was called Titovo Velenje, so Velenje of Tito. They wanted to you know, start talking about other stuff as well, to in a way increase this discussion about the lakes, but also not just the lakes as a natural site, but also the cultural elements of those lakes. So with such projects, you know, this is what you talk then with the journalists, this is what comes into media, and they also have smaller projects then that are in a way supporting that. So it's the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, we actually have the similar situation with the Plužine city and the artificial lake that we have in the north of Montenegro. So actually, idea can be exploited in very similar manner. And thank you for a very interesting approach on this. Okay, this was just about understanding, you know, and I apologize at the beginning, maybe it was already asked, you are doing this project and you have also some commercial basis for that. You was, okay, so there is a B2C with the app and for the customers, but do you working as a B2G, like with the local municipalities? Are you sending this, selling this kind of product or promoting to them, or they can approach you for some temporary basis to utilize this? I don't know.
Yeah, so we mostly work with local communities, with local governments, local authorities to develop those projects. We work with museums and we work with tourist offices, local tourist offices, who are our clients in commercial projects. Yeah, so they are also the ones that then are operating those tools. So we are the developer, but they are operators of those tools and everything. Yeah.
They are owners of the technology, or you are the company?
We are developing, but they are the owners. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So maybe for the others, don't leave room for questions. Thank you.
Slavisha, I see, and Todor then have a question.
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. It was really insightful and very interesting examples. I have two questions. One is, what about the life cycle of the product you develop? So you scan everything, you make the 3D model, you make the promotion, it's available to the public, but is there any life cycle after that? So, you know, does it need some kind of revision after a certain period of time, or is it a project-based approach as a product, you know, so it ends at a certain point and something new will be introduced? That's question one. And the second question is about 3D printing. There was one case where you actually showed that certain objects can be 3D printed so people can actually touch it instead of seeing it behind the glass. But are there any products where tourists or even those service providers in the tourist area can actually offer the 3D model. So someone can download the STL file and print it for themselves.
Yeah.
Is that also something that can be like a tourism product?
Yeah. The first question about the life cycle. As with all technology, of course, something becomes obsolete in some time because the technology is going is going forward so fast that, of course, some things cannot be there forever. And I think here the challenge is usually the hardware. So the hardware, if you imagine the virtual reality glasses that you bought in 2020 are not the nicest anymore in 2025 or 2026. They might still work, but they're not the best experience because it just went so fast. So this is where of course we inform our clients and the operators of those products that they need to, in a way, take this into consideration, that after some years, 3 to 5 years, that technology they will need to change. And how they can prepare for this is that the content that they make, the software that they produce, that can live longer, so that the 3D models that they have created are quality 3D models, so that they will also look nice with a better hardware, because there will be better hardware, we are sure. Also, for example, when it comes to 3D, we always say, let's keep all the source materials, let's keep all the photos, because with the new iterations of technology, we can rerun the whole process and make it nicer. So don't be cheap on the software and on the materials, because there you can reuse this content. Of course, the virtual reality glasses, you cannot influence it because you're just buying it from a producer. So there you will need to change it, and it's getting more and more affordable, actually. But if you invested at the beginning in a good quality content, then you might reuse it. Otherwise, you will have to do it again. So usually we do projects like on a project-based basis. We produce for them the result, and then we are also maintaining the technology. So offering technical assistance, but also hosting the data online, hosting all the source materials so they can reuse it. This was the first question, and the second question was regarding the 3D printing. So we in Slovenia, and we as Arctur, we never did 3D printing as a product yet. We explored and experimented with some ways how to do it, but we never decided. But I've seen actually that my colleagues told me that in Italy it's relatively normal at the airport to find 3D printed statues of David, for example, the famous statues that are, of course, in Italy, you have many. So you can buy 3D printed or like a head sculpture of I don't know, a Roman god or a Greek god or something like this. So I've seen that happening there. For the digital files, of course, you have the online stores like the Sketchfab or Fab now, where you can buy 3D models that can be used as for printing, 3D printing. But of course, there we are talking about smaller. Let's say you cannot charge much for one 3D model. Yeah. So I guess that this only is, in my opinion, economically or financially, it's only makes sense if you have something very attractive and that you can sell lots of times. So very often to people, because still at the end it's plastic. Yeah.
Let me jump in. The question is always at the beginning, what do you want to reach? What do you want to do with something? And For example, of course, we say that the 3D models should be accessible. This is why we also develop a 3D viewer and so on, but we'll talk about these things in next webinars. It's just to give this access to everyone. So if the kids at school play with the 3D model and just color it or something, print it, it's not a product as a product, but it's something which will bring these kids to your location. So it's always, what do you want to reach with something? And as I said, we will present, this is why also this 3D viewers and all this topic of accessible models is a topic that, it's very relevant, and we will address this also in the future.
Yeah.
Todor, please.
Yeah.
Greetings to you all. First of all, thank you, Mateusz, for this insightful presentation. I enjoyed everything you said about the digital modeling of cultural heritage, especially the part where you stated that digital models are not a replacement for physical experience, which is really important, and it influences methodology of research. Actually, here at UDG, we have currently some projects that are similar to what you are doing. The projects are STETSI, it's a Horizon Europe project, and also previously at faculty, I've engaged that. We've done a project called CULT the Map, or Interactual Cultural Digital Map of Montenegro, where we mapped the cultural heritage localities and digitally modeled them so they're accessible to all the people. What we saw as a problem is the amount of awareness of people when it comes to cultural heritage. They just don't visit those localities enough. They don't even know that they exist. And one important aspect is definitely the storytelling part, or try to engage and gain knowledge about those localities and use that knowledge to frame the storytelling part so we can attract those people to visit those places. It's not about digitally modeling them, it's about engaging them to be there, present at the localities, and experience the localities live. You've stated that you have done some 3D modeling here in Montenegro. So I wanted to ask you what are the differences between Montenegro and Slovenia when it comes to cultural heritage? You can say if there are some institutional difficulties, if they exist, or some other difficulties. What are the differences between Slovenia and Montenegro? What would you say that are differences when it comes to cultural heritage? Thank you.
Thank you for the question and comment. I agree what you said, that basically without the proper promotion, you can do amazing things, but people will not notice. So this is, I think, super important, and I think that it's easier to do if you have very good visual materials. So to have very good visual materials, and I'm not talking about only photos. I'm talking about animations, videos, things like this. All these things can help you reach this attention that is, of course, it's very hard in today's world when basically everybody is struggling for attention to do it. Regarding our scanning in Montenegro, so we started working on two projects. One is the castle of Žabljak Crnojevića. There we are building on top of what was already done in a previous Interreg project. So we are upgrading and adding more information into that 3D model. And the second location is Fortress Gorazda, close to Kotor, let's say, or Tivat. And our team was there last week. So it's very fresh. They just returned on Friday back. I wouldn't say that there are big differences from Slovenia. I don't know, maybe Urška, you can comment. We didn't discuss about this yet. I think it was of course, the topics are different, the team is different, the history is different, of course. But when it comes to digital capturing, our technical team doesn't really care. They want to capture everything in detail. as much as possible. Of course, we saw that maybe in your case, or maybe this was the case only here because it was an exception. It was we worked together with your Ministry of Tourism. Getting permits was simple. In Slovenia, in some cases, getting permits is a long process that shouldn't be so complicated because it's actually we're not doing much. We're just taking photos and walking around the site. But here, I think everything went smooth. So hopefully we do more here because it was nice. So now where we are, last week we only captured the sites. Now in the next month, we will process that data to create the 3D models. And also this is the idea of the workshops, that we show you what we're doing. So next time, in the next workshop next week, we will be talking about the digital capture. I will also ask my colleague to show you some examples of what we did in these two locations in Montenegro. And then maybe at the later workshops, we can show you some results, or let's say intermediate results. Because the idea is that then we choose of those two, we continue working on Žablek Crnojevića, and we create a 3D reconstruction, an attempt of 3D reconstruction. So there we still are gathering the team that will work on this project, because of course it's also a historical project to understand how a castle used to look like. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you for the questions. As I said, feel free to reach out and share with you your, what are you interested in, so we can implement and include this in the next webinars. As Mateusz said, we will try you really step by step with the work that we are doing in Montenegro, show you how these projects are growing and developing. And take the chance that we can share with you the things that are you interested in. I would say for today, we are already over the time, which is good and great for the questions. And thank you for the questions. This will be recorded. We will share the link with you. Thank you very much for your attention, and see you next week, hopefully. Have a nice week.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you.
See you
Bye
soon.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.